we go now, baby. Welcome to another edition of Pound for Pound Picks. This time the UFC 309 edition of the show. We're also going to be taking a look at this boxing match on Friday between Jake Paul and Mike Tyson. We are proudly presented by Bet99, so make sure you check them out for all your sports betting needs. Okay, so it's just not me breaking down these fights. We have a very special guest today. Man, we've spoken to numerous times already here on the program. Let's go to our guy, the man I consider to be the GOAT of the sport, Georges St-Pierre. George, comment ça va?
Ça va bien, et toi?
Très bien, mon ami. Okay, George, so it's pretty topical here this weekend with Jon Jones fighting. I'm talking to you. I'm sure you're not going to say yourself, but I got to ask you, who is your number one GOAT, greatest of all time in mixed martial arts?
Well, Jon Jones is definitely one of them, but I would say for me, the best of the best, the one that inspired me is Royce Gracie. Of course, if you put Royce Gracie in the octagon nowadays, he might not do so well. But for his time, I believe he was the most ahead for his time.
Absolutely. Okay, yeah, hard to disagree with that answer there. Okay, so let's get into this one. Madison Square Garden, UFC 309. It feels like we've been waiting for this fight forever. Jon Jones taking on Stipe Miocic. So you go over to Bet99, George. Jones is a massive favorite, minus 700 here. So you got to do some digging if you want to find some value betting-wise. I'll probably be taking Jones to win by TKO. Maybe have to throw that on a parlay. Miocic coming back, a pretty big underdog, plus 450, over-under round set at 1.5. So Jones last fought a year and a half ago. Stipe has been out of action for about 3.5 years now, 42 years old. So that long layoff for Stipe, that's something you can relate to. You were out of the octagon for 4 years ahead of your fight with Michael Bisping. So I got to ask you, in the early moments of that fight with Bisping, did you feel like the same fighter right off the bat, or did it take some time to get into the flow of the fight?
One thing that I lost, it was not standing up. It was mostly the ground and pound on the ground. Because when you train in mixed martial arts, you know, you do striking, you do grappling, but the ground and pound is something that you cannot really mimicate in a real training. Like, for example, pushing the head and going with the elbows. And it shows in my fight, I got cut over the eyebrow. And not over the eyebrow, but on the forehead. And this is something that is very hard to replicate. If you haven't fought for a long time, it is something that you kind of lose sense of a little bit. I mean, you can get the striking back, you know, because that's what you do in training. It's pretty similar. But the ground and pound is really something that could be missing. And, yeah, he's 42 years old, Stipe. You haven't fought for a while. It's going to be difficult. He's a big underdog. Jones been training with Gordon Ryan, one of my training partner as well. He's probably the best grappler on the planet, Gordon Ryan. He's been training with Stevenson as well. He's one of the best wrestlers in the world. He won the Olympic. He's John. One of the reasons also why he's the best is he's bringing the best guy to train with. He's not afraid to get out of his comfort zone to bring the best guy to train in their element, and that's why he's the best. You know.
Okay, so Jones, a minus 700 favorite here. Do you give Stipe any chance at all? And if so, what do you think his path to victory could be?
There's always a chance. They're heavyweight. There's always a chance. Stipe is very, very skilled. Most of people think that his best years are behind him. But who knows? Maybe he's gonna rebound, and you never know at this size, at this weight. You know, one punch, boom, it connects, it changes everything. But in terms of skills, if you compare skills, I can't see weakness in Jon Jones. You know, like he's strong everywhere. He's good on the floor, good standing up. He's good in the transition. He's tough as hell. Normally, guys that are so talented, they lack toughness. Jon Jones is not the case. He's the complete mixed martial art package.
Okay. Okay, so rumor has it this could be a double retirement fight, potential for both guys retiring no matter what the outcome is. If Jon Jones does decide to stick around, who would you like to see him fight?
I don't know if he will stick around because, man, he has done it all. Like, all the other fight that he does, I mean, there are always going to be another guy, and people will say, oh, he's scared, he's this and that. But man, he's getting older a little bit, and he's done it all. Like, I mean, I like Jon Jones as a friend. I would advise him, like, man, after this fight, you've done it all. Like, I mean, worst come to worst, if you want to do it, take a few years back, wait for another superstar to develop that will have a certain aura of invincibility, and then come back and challenge him. You will get more money, and it will be more worth it for the legacy. But to go there and fight a guy like, like, as a fan, I want to see him fight Thomas Pinal. I want to see him fight, these guys. But it's a big risk, and I understand from his point of view why maybe he doesn't want to take the risk, and it's not worth it. His legacy is so much far ahead of everybody else in the division. Why would he take the risk? Everything can happen in a fight. I mean, even if you're the best fighter, boom, lights off, and why would he take the risk? I mean, that's my opinion. Of course, as a fan, I want him to fight. I want to see him fight Aspinall and Ngannou and all these guys. Of course, it would be interesting. I will be the first one to tune in if it happened.
Okay, let's drop down here to the co-main event, an absolute firefight going down between Michael Chandler, who's finally stepping back in. He waited forever for the Conor McGregor fight. It is not to be, and he's going to get a chance to avenge a loss he had versus Charles Oliveira. So Oliveira, a -275 favorite over at Bet99. Chandler +205, over under rounds set at 1.5 rounds. So kind of interesting, George. Chandler +205 underdog right now. In the first fight, he was a +110 underdog, and he had his moments in that fight. Like I said, it was an absolute firefight. He probably had an opportunity in the first round of that fight to pit Oliveira away, but he ends up getting TKO'd early in the second. How do you think the rematch goes?
Man, this is a hell of a fight. This is like a crazy fight. Man, they both can knock each other out. Oliveira got a crazy, good, aggressive submission style. I mean, if you give anything like an arm, an egg, your neck or a leg, he's gonna run away with it. I mean, this is a fight that is, if you put a bet on it, it's most likely not gonna go to the distance. I mean, if you look at the stats, it's a very entertaining fight. It could go either way. I think if it finishes early on, like last time, I think it favors Chandler. If it goes a little bit past the second round, I think it favors Oliveira.
Yeah, the under 1.5 rounds, -130, probably going to be a popular bet. I'm going to take Chandler based on the idea that, like I said, he was only a +110 underdog first time around. Now he's up to +205, and he probably should have won that fight, the first fight in the first round. So you've been involved in a bunch of rematches. You've avenged a couple, the 2 losses to Matt Serra and Matt Hughes in a rematch. What do you think, though? Does the guy who won the first fight typically have some sort of advantage, maybe a mental edge going into the second fight?
It could be, but it has to do with adaptability, how they will adapt. If they plan on going out there and doing the same thing they did, might not be a good strategy because their opponent might be thinking, oh, I'm going to do this. When you do this, he will make adjustment. So even if, like Oliveira, from his point of view, even if he won the fight, he need to make some adjustment to make sure he doesn't get in trouble like he did the last time, because Chandler is extremely explosive. And Chandler, the same thing. He needs to do some adjustment, knowing what happened last time. So it's a chess game. It's going to be very interesting. But like I said, I think if their style, I think if the fight finishes early, before the half of the second round, I would favor Chandler. If it finishes after the half of the second round, I would give it to Oliveira.
Okay, another marquee name on the event here. We have Bo Nickal. He is a massive favorite against Paul Craig here, George. He's a minus 1,100 favorite. That's he'll be one of the biggest favorites of the year here easily. So undefeated in the UFC, he finishes everybody. He is what I would consider to be a super prospect. In the UFC, they do a pretty good job with these super prospects of bringing these guys along. We saw with Sean O'Malley. We saw with Khamzat Chimaev. Eventually, we saw the level of competition start to raise for these guys. And the competition going up here for Nickal, I think a little bit. Paul Craig, although he is doing a lot more losing than winning here lately. So my question for you about Nickal, what do you think makes this guy so special? What do you think of his potential is to be a champion one day here in the middleweight division?
Well, he's an elite wrestler, like world-class level wrestler, and he's very good in submission as well. He's done some very good submission grappling competition, and he competed against very high level guys. Now his striking, his last fight, he won by TKO, so his striking is coming along very well as well. He's a full package, and world-class athlete too. Very smart. He's got it all, and he's fighting Paul Craig. Paul Craig is a veteran, very good with submission. Not his weakness, I would say, is his striking, but he's very good with submission, very good from his back. So I see this fight either get like Bo Nickal getting the knockout standing up, or putting Paul Craig on his back and finish him up with ground and pound. However, he needs to be careful because Craig he's got very good submission from his back.
He is slick. I'm going to go with Nickal, though. First round victory. You get a better prop here when a guy's that big of a favorite. So 4 first-round finishes and 5 UFC fights for Nickal. Craig's been finished in 3 of his last 4 fights. Takedown defense of just 37% in the UFC. Not very strong. Okay,
yeah,
so before...
The momentum is definitely not on Craig's side.
Indeed. Okay, before we move on to this boxing match that I want to ask you about between Mike Tyson and Jake Paul, I want to ask you about the welterweight title picture. So Belal Muhammad needed to pull out of the fight in December. He will no longer be defending the title against Shavkat Rakhmonov, but it looks like Rakhmonov is going to stay and probably compete for an interim title. Now, they are yet to name an opponent for him. There's a couple of contenders here. Ian Gary may be in the mix. It looks like he might be fighting at a fight night card, though, in December. Kamaru Usman, potentially. Colby Covington is trying to get the fight. Who would you like to see get that fight for your former title, the welterweight championship?
Well, it's interesting. There's Leon Edwards. Probably was champion, so maybe he needs to go back in there. Kamaru Usman. Covington, I'm not sure because of his last couple of performances. Didn't look so good. Ian Gary, definitely a good prospect for that as well.
Yeah, I'd like to see Ian Gary get in there. You have 2 guys who are both undefeated, so a pretty interesting storyline there. I think that would be the fight to make, so it'll be interesting to see what they do here. So a couple of big fights here this weekend. We go to the world of boxing Friday night on Netflix for this one. This one got delayed. It's back on for Friday night here. Jake Paul taking on Mike Tyson, a bit of a circus fight, a bit of a sideshow perhaps here. Jake Paul, much younger guy here, coming in at minus 250. Mike Tyson, 58 years old, a plus 190 underdog. It's going to be 8 2-minute rounds for this fight. What are your expectations for this boxing match here, George?
Look, if Mike Tyson would be in his prime, I would favor Tyson 100%. However, he's not in his prime anymore. He's close to 60 years old. It's a 2-minute fight, 2-minute round fight, 8 rounds. It changes the game a lot. It's not 3-minute rounds. It's 2 minutes. The gloves, I'm not sure if the rules about the gloves is their official gloves or their bigger gloves. I mean, it's going to be an interesting fight. I'm going to tune in. I just hope with my heart that none of them going to get hurt, especially Tyson. He's a legend, and I hope nobody And I think nobody wants to see Tyson getting hurt. I mean, it's hard to call. I mean, the experience is on Tyson's side, but he's been out for a long, long time. It changes everything. I mean, Jake is much younger. I think it's hard to bet against Jake. If you know the game very well, it's going to be tough to bet against Jake. Jake Paul he's got a momentum. He's young. He's been active. I think he might pull it off. I mean, and I just hope Tyson showcased some great skills in that fight.
Okay, so my bet for this fight, I'm going to go, I like both for the fight to go to decision, and I like the over 5.5 rounds option that you can bet at Bet99. I'm basing this on the idea, I think there's a possibility that the guys might not go all out. They might treat this kind of like a glorified sparring match.
Yes.
Because it's, Tyson, this fight got delayed already due to medical issues for Mike Tyson. So it's not going to be a good look if he just gets flatlined by Jake Paul early in the fight. Do you think there could be some sort of gentleman's agreement potentially that, we're not going to go all out here and try to kill each other?
I don't want to kill the promotion and get into room of conspiracy theory, but that's what I think. Yes, it might be possible. I mean, there's no way Jake gonna look good. Even if you go out there and knock out Mike Tyson, he's gonna look bad. I mean, Jake Paul is a very nice guy. However, one way that he can look good is that if he lasts the whole 8 round and he display a great showcase of skills in front of Tyson, without maybe like any knockout on both sides. That's I think a good way where both guys can look good, and I think that's what is gonna happen.
Yeah, Jake Paul,
and I hope so.
Yeah, Jake Paul by decision might be the way to go. Just, you look at the build-up, and it's been kind of friendly in nature between the two guys, and it's just a really awful look. Tyson, he's had medical issues in the past. His fight already got delayed due to medical issues. So, yeah, I think there's some potential here that it might be more like a sparring match as opposed to a traditional professional boxing match. Okay, George, that's it. There was a lot to talk about for this weekend coming up. There's going to be a lot more to talk about here in 2024. Still a lot going on in the world of combat sports. So thank you very much for joining. Best of luck with your picks this weekend, and we'll catch you again next time.
Thank you. Cheers, guys.